So I want to demonstrate how to remove a bearing from a certain design of camera stabilizer. A number of camera stabilizers have a gimbal that's basically adjustable on the rod. Sometimes you can remove these entirely, but on this design, what you do to remove the bearing is, you can see at the top here there's two holes, and I'm sure there's proper tools to do this, but I was just using what I had on hand. So right here, this is a step ring, pliers or wrench, whatever you want to call it, and I'm just basically lining it up so that I fit in both holes, and then turning counterclockwise, and once it's loose, you should just be able to do it by hand. So that's the top part, and then you'll see inside there's a bearing, but there's also a threaded retaining ring. And to get that off, again, I'm sure there's a proper tool for it. I just used a very thin needle nose type plier, and I'm not exactly sure what this is called, but it's kind of a specialty unit, so you might have to kind of hunt to find one, but it works for removing it. So we've got that threaded ring off, and then we can just separate the bearing here. And some of these are a little tight, so you might have to, put some elbow grease into it. So here's the stem piece, and before reassembling this, you might want to clean it and maybe lube this area a little bit, because it does run along in this channel, so you probably want a little bit of lubrication there. Your bearing's inside here, and you should be able to pop it out. This one's a little tight, so sometimes you might have to come up with something underneath. But anyway, that's how you can access your bearing. Here's how to re-grease a bearing used on steadycams. Sometimes bearings will have a metal shield. This one's kind of a rubber coating over, I think, brass. And so the way you remove these seals is just want to take a thin screwdriver or a knife blade. This one's already removed, but you'll basically stick it in the edge right here, and then you'll pry it upward. And that shouldn't really damage the seal. And you can just lift it off and it'll be full of grease. But you can clean off the grease with something like rubbing alcohol or denatured alcohol or some other kind of grease remover. And then inside there'll be a very thick grease. And this one's more or less clean at the moment, but there'll be a pretty thick layer of grease that you'll have to clean out. And really the best way to do that is take a toothbrush and just scrub on it, and keep pouring rubbing alcohol in there, and then keep scrubbing. And eventually you should get most of the grease out. You can also take a rag or something and try to wipe out as much grease as you can. And you can also soak it in some kind of grease remover or rubbing alcohol. So this one's got most of the grease out. It's pretty clean, and it spins a whole lot better than it used to. Now, once you've got that all complete, what you can do is re-oil it. You really want something so it's not just metal on metal. I ended up using this Singer sewing machine oil. It's a mineral oil base, and so far it seems pretty decent. It does kind of dampen the bearing, so it won't spin as fast with that lubricant on it as it does without any at all. But it seems to work pretty good. The stabilizer performs well. I've also read about people using something like PTFE or Teflon, and you can use those. It's just that not all Teflon products are the same, and the stuff I tried that was available in my area actually made the bearing spin not as well. It was kind of gritty and didn't perform well at all. So this sewing machine oil is pretty good, and you could use regular mineral oil as well. It's just that these come in smaller containers than mineral oil. Mineral oil is usually, quite a bit bigger, and 2 or 3 times the cost. And with something like this, you really don't need much. Just a few drops in there, maybe a couple on each side, and then you're done. And unfortunately, with a lot of stabilizers, they put in a fairly thick grease. I think they're just taking standard bearings and designing their stabilizers to fit with a standard bearing size. And because of that, the bearings move much slower than they should for a stabilizer. When it comes time to reassemble everything, you probably can get away without using your seal again. If you damaged it, let's say, or misplaced it, you might be able to get away without using it because your stabilizer will protect the bearing for the most part. There shouldn't be that much dust that gets in there. So it's better to use the seal, but if you don't have it or it's damaged, you'll probably be okay. And to replace it and get it back on, you basically align it and then just put pressure all around it, and it should snap back in place.